We all have that one rapper's fan base that really grinds our gears. Well, today I'm gonna be ranking rappers by how annoying their fan bases are. First, I have to explain what each tier means. At the top, we have elite. This is reserved for only the best fan bases. These fan bases glaze their rappers appropriately, they can take criticism of the rappers well, and overall do more things for the rapper's reputation positively than they do negatively. Next, we have chill. These are for the fan bases that still glaze the rappers appropriately, still can take criticism well, but not as well as the elite tier. They still positively affect the rapper's reputation, but they have more bad eggs in them than the elite rappers do. Next, we have average or not very vocal. On the average side of things, they don't negatively, but also don't positively affect the rapper's reputation. They glaze sometimes too much, glaze sometimes too little. They respond to criticism well, respond to criticism not well. They're hot and cold. You know, you're gonna have the fan base that's good, half the fan base that's bad. But we also have the not very vocal part of it. Some fan bases just don't talk about the rapper outside of their circles. So you're not gonna hear much about this rapper unless you're in the circle, and that's where these fan bases will go. Next, we have annoying. These are fan bases that glaze the rapper a little too much, or don't respond to criticism very well. You say one thing about the rapper that's not too positive and they freak out. These are for fan bases that are annoying, but not quite the unbearable tier. Because in the unbearable tier, these fan bases overly glaze their rappers. They can't respond to criticism at all. These are your fan bases that you say one bad thing and you have a million of them attacking you. You have maybe an average rapper that they prop up to be the GOAT. These are for the worst fan bases of all time. And then at the very bottom, they have fans. These are reserved for rappers that I didn't even know they had an active fan base like that. Those are the tiers. Let's get into the ranking. The first rapper we have here is MF Doom. Now this is going to be kind of a hot one because MF Doom does have a pretty active fan base, but I think most people can agree that their fan base can get a little annoying at sometimes. One of the biggest things about their fan base is if you don't spell the name with all caps, they come in there going, it's MF Doom in all caps. Say all caps when you say his name and stuff like that. That's one of the most annoying things to happen in hip hop. But they also overly glaze him saying he's the GOAT when I personally don't think he's the GOAT. I don't think a majority of people think he's the GOAT, but their fan base overly glazes. They have annoying things in them. They don't respond to criticism that well. You do have some that are chiller and respond. Like if someone isn't a huge fan, they can understand why, and that's why I have them in the annoying tier, not the unbearable tier. But I think most people can agree MF Doom fans are not an elite fan base. Next, we have another spicy one with Drake. Now, Drake fans are hot and cold. You're gonna have some Drake fans that are chill, that are doing what normal fan base should be doing, but then you have some really bad Drake fans. This one teeters on annoying to unbearable for me. I think for me, they're annoying because I have a lot more chill Drake fans in my comment sections, but I can truly understand being unbearable. I think I'm going to put him in unbearable just for the fact of how big he is. The bigger the fan base, the worse it's gonna be. The more people in it, the more bad eggs you're gonna have. I can understand if you lean annoying here, and I think I'm leaning annoying here, but I'm looking at it from a bigger picture, and Drake just has such a big fan base that there's going to be more rotten eggs. There's going to be more annoying people in it, and the fact that he just came out of the beef, it's both the rappers that came out of the beef, their fan base has got significantly worse because they're too busy trying to fight each other than trying to lift up their artists. So I can understand if you want to put Drake higher, but personally, just based on everything I've seen, I think Drake has to be an unbearable, but I could see it being on the end of unbearable compared to some of the other rappers we're gonna have here. Next, we have NBA Youngboy. We're really starting off with some of the bottom tier fan bases here because NBA Youngboy fans are not great. If you don't like Youngboy, they just can't comprehend it in their head. They just attack you, even if it's like the smallest criticism ever. His music, in my opinion, isn't even that good, and he gets propped up so heavy and glazed so hard. I think this is pretty easily one of the worst fan bases in all of hip hop, so I'm gonna have to put YB in unbearable. Now, I do think YB's fan base is worse than Drake's fan base because I would be inclined to guess that YB's fan base is around the ages of 15 to 17. So they're not fully matured, and so they're going to act more immaturely than some of these older fan bases will. This is why you're going to have some of the more annoying people in here. I also think that he's also just a massive rapper who has a massive fan base. So once again, just like Drake, you're going to have bad eggs, you're going to have good eggs. I just think the ratio of good eggs to bad eggs is much worse than for Drake's fan base. So that's why I'm going to put YB's fans under Drake's fans. Next, we have 21 Savage. Now this one is interesting because I don't think he has the most active fan base. Maybe he did a couple years ago, but I think his popularity and his active fan base has fallen off a little bit. He's not quite in the they have fans category, but I think I'm just going to put them in average to not very vocal. Next, we have TK. I'm going to put TK in the they have fans territory. He's in here for one of two reasons. The first reason why he shouldn't have fans. Based on what he's done, he shouldn't have fans at all. But also, he doesn't have a discography that should carry an active fan base. So I don't think there's any reason not to put him in this category because he has no music, he's a bad person, and most of his fan base follows him. They want to be edgy and they want to think they're cool and say free TK, but their fan base doesn't care about his music. They're not looking for new drops because he's not going to drop. TK probably will never drop another album again. So having an active fan base for that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to have to put him in. They have fans. Next is Offset. And this is a weird one for the tier ranking because they have each Migo member separately and then they have a category for the Migos. So I'm just going to rank all the Migos right now. And if we're going the Migos separately, I think they have a chill fan base. I think the Migos as a group, their fan base is pretty good. You know, it's going to be falling off a little bit since the group is broken up. So it's going to be talked about less. But even when they're at their height, I don't think Migos fans were that overly toxic. They didn't glaze too much. I think it's when we separate them into the different artists is where we get a little bit iffy with it. I think Offset's going to go in the average to not very vocal tier. I think I'm going to have Quavo in the same tier. And then Takeoff, I think I'm going to have to put him in that they have fans territory. Now for Quavo and Offset, I think their popularity just has fallen off as they separated from the group, and the fan bases were kind of divided because Quavo and Offset had beef inside each other, so that's going to cause internal beef inside the fan bases. So their fan bases are already not as vocal as they used to be. I don't really see much buzz for either artist outside of their own circles. So it's leaning on more of the not very vocal side than the average side, but they still do drop music and they still get talked about. That's why they're not in the they have fans territory. Now for Takeoff, it's kind of unfortunate because he did pass away, RIP. So his fan base is already going to be falling off because of that, because you're not getting any more new music. I feel like out of the Migos, he had the least solo career. So he's already going to have less solo fans than the other two. Whether or not you think he's a worse rapper or better rapper than the other two, his fan base is just going to be smaller as a solo artist because he didn't get to do as much solo work as the other two. So that's why I put him in the they have fans, but it's for different reasons than other people will be in this category. Now we have a rapper who has a lot on his plate with Rod Wave. I think I'm gonna have to put his fan base in the annoying tier. I don't think his fan base is more annoying than MF Doom. A lot of people in his fan base can't comprehend that some people might not like the more melodic sound he has to his music, and for some reason that really upsets them. So you're gonna find some Rod Wave fans that really can't take someone not liking Rod Wave as much as them. And personally, I'm not a huge Rod Wave guy. I think he has a similar sound on all of his music and it can get a little bit repetitive, a little bit boring. But Rod Wave fans prop him up as like one of the best artists to come out of the 2010s, 2020s. And I think they just overly glaze and they don't take criticism well. So that's why he's going to end up in the annoying tier, but they're not as bad as MF Doom fans. Next, we have Denzel Curry, which I'm going to have a little bit bias here because I am a Denzel Curry fan myself. But I think Denzel Curry fan is going to be the first rapper to go in the elite tier for me. I think Denzel Curry fans do the best that they can to try to prop up Denzel Curry without coming off as excessive or annoying. And I think they properly rate the rapper. Some do think he's the best rapper out there, but I think most people inside the fan base can have an accurate depiction of what they think his skill is and where he should be ranked in his discography. I think when Denzel Curry fans talk about him outside of their circles, they keep it pretty moderate. They do more positive than they do negative for this rapper. And I think the skill matches the glaze and the response to criticism. And I don't think the fan base in itself cares that much about if other people don't like them. So I'm going to have to put Denzel Curry fan base into the elite, but I can understand if you want to put them in the chill. Next, we have Summrs, which I have personal beef with. So this is going to be lower than probably consensus, but this is my ranking, so I'm going to put them where I want them. And I'm going to put Summrs fans in the unbearable tier. I'm going to put them over Drake and YB, but they're going in the unbearable tier. Now, I think Summrs fans might be one of the worst fan bases at taking criticism I've ever experienced, because when Stuck in My Ways came out in 2023, I made a review on it. I wasn't a huge fan, but Summrs fans not take that lightly. They tried reporting my video, tried taking it down, all because I didn't enjoy the album. And because of that, that's just not a way to respond to someone not liking your creator's album. You're changing people's opinion on the rapper based on how you are reacting to it, and that's just not a way to positively impact your rapper's reputation. And because of that, they're gonna have to go in unbearable for me. Now, I understand that's my personal bias there, so consensus is probably gonna have them in average, maybe even annoying, maybe chill, but for me personally, they're one of the worst fan bases I've ever interacted with, and that's gonna get them a spot in unbearable. Next, we have Famous Dex. I mean, I think this is pretty obviously that they have fans tier. I don't think I've ever seen someone talk about Famous Dex outside of their group, and like, it's Famous Dex. Does he have fans? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he does. So he's going in the They Have Fans tier. I think we're gonna have another one in the They Have Fans tier. It's gonna be 6ix9ine. I think maybe if this was 2 to 5 years ago, he would be in this, but his popularity just has waned drastically. I don't think he carries a fan base anymore, and if they do, it's a very, very, very minor fan base. And so I'm gonna have to put them in the They Have Fans tier. Next, we have Wu-Tang, which is kind of an interesting one here, because a lot of these old rappers, their fan bases have grown out of the social media, out of the propping up their rappers area. So I don't really know what to do with these older rappers. Like Wu-Tang, I don't think they have an incredibly active fan base anymore, also because of the fact they don't drop that much music anymore. So I think I'm gonna put them in the not very vocal tier. I think a lot of the old heads are gonna find themselves in there because a lot of their fans just aren't active in the scene anymore. So it's a little tough. They probably should have their own tier, but I'm just gonna put them in the not very vocal. Next, we have Ice Spice, which I think pretty easily goes in the They Have Fans tier. Maybe just like 6ix9ine 2 years ago, they would be in the annoying tier, maybe even the unbearable tier, but she has torpedoed her own career and her fan base just doesn't exist anymore. Her music doesn't exist anymore. I doubt we see an Ice Spice come back, so I'm gonna keep her in the They Have Fans category. Next, we have Nardo Wick, which I'm gonna put him in the average to not very vocal range. Nardo Wick is a fine rapper. He drops music, he's active, but I just don't think his fan base is very active in other people's scenes. They keep to themselves. They aren't out there trying to make it seem like he's the GOAT. They're not out here trying to prop him up, trying to bring him down. They're just there. And because of that, he's gonna be in the average to not very vocal tier. Next, we have another old head here with Snoop Dogg. It's going to follow the same principles that I had with Wu-Tang. I think Snoop's fan base is a little more active than Wu-Tang's because he's just dropped a little bit more music, but none of them have really done that much. So the fans have aged out. They're not in the scene as much. I'm going to keep them in the average and not very vocal tier. Next, we have another more personal bias one here for me with Lil Yachty's fan base. Now, I'm teetering between average and not very vocal to annoying. I think I'm going to put him in the annoying tier. Not higher than Rod Wave or MF Doom, but I think his fan base is going to have to go to annoying for me. Now, I don't think Lil Yachty's core fan base is that big. I think he gets a lot of his fans from other rappers like Drake, but they don't take criticism well. Last year, he dropped a lot of music. I wasn't a fan of a decent amount of it, and Lil Yachty fans did not take it well. They were not very happy, and because of that, they're small, and yet they're still somehow noticeably annoying, so that's why he's going to end up in the annoying tier. I could be inclined to move him up because of the lack of size, but just based on personal experience, I'm going to have to put Lil Yachty fans in annoying. Next, we have Trippie Redd fans, and this is going to follow similar principles to what just happened with Lil Yachty, and he's going to end himself up into the annoying tier. I think I'm going to put him above Lil Yachty, but not above Rod Wave and MF Doom. Similar to Lil Yachty, he dropped a lot of music last year, and I don't think I was a fan of any of it. And anytime I voice my opinion on it, Trippie Redd fans are right there, screaming, being mad, all of this. And I think Trippie Redd fans are a little bit unfortunate because he did used to have good music and used to sound like he tried and cared about dropping good music, but they've been Stockholmed into just defending anything he releases, even if it's blatantly terrible. And I think the overglazing of Trippie Redd and the lack of criticism taking from this fan base especially in my personal experience, puts them in the annoying tier. If the fan base was a little bigger, I think I could put them in the unbearable tier, but the lack of size puts them in the annoying tier. Next we have Can, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about Can or his fan base. I've never really interacted with them, never even really been in the same circle as them. So I'm gonna put him in the They Have Fans tier, but not for the same reason as anyone else in the They Have Fans tier. Now we have a rapper's fan base who's been more active recently due to a new album drop from this rapper with Tyler the Creator. And I think everyone can agree besides Tyler fans that Tyler's fan base is bottom 3. They're easily going in the unbearable tier. The glaze from this fan base is truly unfathomable. No matter what's happening, who's being talked about, you'll find a Tyler fan in there trying to promote propaganda for Tyler. You'll find someone arguing with a Tyler fan about something that they didn't agree with. Can't even say Tyler is like an 8 or 7 out of 10 rapper without hundreds of Tyler fans being pissed at you because you said this. It is easily one of the worst experiences in life trying to talk about music with a Tyler fan. They overly glaze a rapper. They can't respond to criticism at all. Simply, you could say that one of his albums is like a 6 instead of a 9, and they'll explode on you for not knowing music. You call an album when this Tyler fan thinks it's a mixtape, and all of a sudden you're the worst person in the world and they're attacking you for not knowing all this and that. It's truly one of the worst fan bases in the world and all of music. It is easily one of the worst things to do in your life is to interact with this fan base. Tyler fans might be bottom 1, and I think they are bottom 1. I don't think there's another fan base that is as annoying, as unbearable as Tyler fans. Next we have Bourne, the producer rapper. I think this fan base could be annoying at times, but most of the time they're average or not very vocal. I've had a few run-ins with Bourne fans where they're not able to take criticism well, or they're mad at me because I didn't fully enjoy a project that they enjoy. But for the most part, they're chill. They're just there. But I can't, because of these rotten eggs in this fan base, I can't quite put Bourne in the chill category. But I feel like it would be disingenuous to put him in the annoying category. So I took the average of the two and put him in average or not very vocal. Next, we have Lucki, and I'm going to have to put Lucki into the annoying tier. Not more annoying than MF Doom, not more annoying than Rod Wave, but he's definitely going in the annoying tier. I've had run-ins with Lucki fans multiple times, and none of them have been enjoyable. They're not quite unbearable because they're not as big. You know, Lucki isn't a massive rapper, so his fan base isn't massive. But I feel like 99% of the time you're interacting with a Lucki fan, if you're not completely positive on the rapper, Lucki fans just aren't very receptive to that. And, you know, they're just not a very happy fan base. Based on personal experience, I've not had a single positive interaction with a Lucki fan. So I'm gonna have to put him in annoying, and it's pretty easily annoying. Next we have Young Nudy, which is a fan base that I don't think is that vocal, is not that out there doing all of their things. They keep to themselves. They don't negatively, but they don't also positively affect Young Nudy's reputation. They're kind of just there. So I'm gonna put him in the average to not very vocal tier. Next we have Kevin Gates, which follows some of the rules of Young Nudy, but I think they're more positive for Kevin Gates than they are for Young Nudy. I think Kevin Gates is just a funnier guy, so his fan base is going to be chiller. His fan base is not going to really care about whether you like Kevin Gates as a rapper, and so he's going to end up in chill for me. Next we have Josiah, which is a similar situation to Can. I haven't interacted with Josiah fans that often. I haven't even interacted with Josiah's music at all. I'm gonna put him next to Can in the They Have Fans tier, but not for the same reason as others. Next we have Homicide Gang fans, and I think I'm gonna have to put them in the average to not very vocal tier, but I'm gonna have them leaning more chill. Now this is based off personal experience again. I have reviewed a couple Homicide Gang albums, and I've liked some, haven't liked some. And I feel like the response to it has been pretty positive overall, whether I liked it or disliked it. I think inside of Opium, they're one of the better fan bases, but they also have some suspect tendencies, so that's why I can't fully put them in chill, but I think out of Opium fan bases might be the best one. Next, we have Snot, which is a bit of a tough one because I don't think he has that big of a fan base, so I can fully understand putting him in the They Have Fans tier, but I'm just gonna put him in the average, not very local, just because I like Snot. And so, as including myself in his fan base, I'm just gonna give myself the personal edge and put him in average, not very vocal. Next, we have Lil Baby's fans. And I think you only have two options here. You either put them in annoying or you put them in unbearable. And I think I'm going to lean annoying over unbearable. Not over MF Doom, not over Rod Wave, but I think I would put him over Lucki fan bases. Lil Baby fans, really glaze how good of a rapper Lil Baby is, and it's quite annoying. He's not that good of a rapper, and I think that's pretty consensus through hip-hop fans, and Lil Baby fans just don't take that well. You give one of his albums a 5 or a 6 and they're mad at you saying Lil Baby hate is forced and all this and all that. It's just not a fun fan base to interact with, but it's not terrible, I guess. They have some chiller fans, you have some older fans, you have some younger fans, bad eggs, good eggs, but the more vocal part of the fan base is the bad part. So I'm gonna have to put Lil Baby in annoying. We have another similar situation here with Can and Josiah with smooth beats. I haven't interacted with his music very much, so I haven't seen too much of his fan base. It's gonna be a smaller fan base because he's a smaller artist. So I'm gonna put him in the They Have Fans category. Next, we have a fan base that I'm a part of. This is my favorite rapper of all time. We have Lil Wayne, and call it personal bias, call it whatever you want. I'm gonna put Lil Wayne in the chill category. I think Lil Wayne follows some of the old head rules where a lot of his fan base has aged out, but I still think there is a good number of active fans, especially because he still is dropping music pretty consistently. I think they can respond to criticism decently enough. I think you're gonna have some bad ones, you're gonna have some good ones, but I think especially with the Carter 6 release, you're having more positive people trying to lift Lil Wayne up than you do having them trying to be angry at people who didn't like the album or trying to glaze him too much. I think if we're gonna put what's the worst part of this fan base, I do think the glazing would be, maybe they glaze a little bit too much, but I don't think the fan base is annoying per se. So I'm gonna put them in the chill category, but I can understand if you put them in average. Next we have Baby Keem, which is another similar situation with Yachty, because I don't know how many core Baby Keem fans there are. I think a lot of his fan base comes from Kendrick Lamar, especially since he doesn't drop that much music. But I think they're pretty chill. You know, they're more worried about trying to get more music from Baby Keem than trying to fight other fan bases about who's better, who's this, or trying to make everyone else agree with their glazing. If I'm gonna be honest, I think Baby Keem's fan base is more chill than Lil Wayne's fan base and Migos fan base. So I think that's pretty easily a chill fan base. Next, we have another Opium fan base here with Ken Carson's fan base. Now, I do think Ken Carson's fan base is noticeably worse than Destroy Lonely, so I'm gonna put them in the annoying tier. I don't think they're more annoying than MF Doom. I don't think they're more annoying than Rod Wave, and I don't think they're more annoying than Lil Baby. I think it's pretty close between them and Lucki, but I'm gonna give Ken Carson's fan base the edge. I don't think Ken Carson fans respond to criticism very well, especially in my personal experience. I'm not the biggest Ken Carson guy, and the fans haven't been as understanding to other point of views or on his music than I've seen from other fan bases. They're not as bad as Cardi fans, but Ken Carson fans are not very nice. Ken Carson fans glaze a little too much. They're trying to push their agendas a little too much, and they're not a massive fan base, but I would say a good portion of it negatively responds to criticism. And so because of that, I'm gonna put him in the annoying tier. I'm gonna get cooked for my ball knowledge of underground rappers here, but we have a rapper named Thousand Band Voni, something like that. You say something like that. I don't know who this is, so I don't know how good their fan base is. So I'm gonna have to put them next to Can, Josiah, and the other one that I don't remember the name of, who I don't know their fan base, so I can't really rate them well. So I'm gonna put them in the They Have Fans tier. Next, we have ASAP Ferg, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really think he has that big of a core fan base. I think a lot of it comes from ASAP Rocky and other ASAP Mob members. I think it's fine. They're not very vocal, so I'm gonna put them in the average and not very vocal tier. Next, we have Polo G, who I think is a pretty easy annoying tier. I don't think he's more annoying than MF Doom, Rod Wave, Lil Baby. I think I'm gonna put him in between Ken Carson and Lil Baby. Polo G fans are a little bit tough because when Polo G was more popular, they were also more vocal, more active, and then they were big glazers. They didn't respond to the Piano G thing very well. But then Polo G disappeared for a little bit, and then he came back, and the fans didn't show up for the album. It sold like 26K first week and then disappeared. Nobody's talked about the Hood Poet since. He hasn't dropped any music since. I mean, I think this fan base doesn't support their artist, and when they did support the artist, they didn't do it positively. So I'm gonna put it in the annoying tier just because I don't even know how active Polo G's fan base is now. His career kind of died, so did they. So I'm gonna put them in the annoying tier. Whoever made this list had a weird selection process, because now we have Night Lovell. I've heard of him, I've heard some of his music, but he hasn't dropped in 2 years. So Can the fan base really be anything but they have fans if the rapper doesn't drop music? So the fan base can't push an agenda, can't glaze, can't do any of this. He's going in the they have fans tier just because, does he know he has fans? I mean, no music, no anything. This is like, what are we doing here? Next we have Joey Badass, and I think his fan base is pretty chill. Most recently they supported him through that beef where he was basically beefing with the whole West Coast, and now he has his new album coming up. They're generating buzz, they're not being annoying, they're glazing but not overly. They have a good picture in their head of how good the rapper is, how much they should be pushing him. They respond to criticism well. You have a good mix of support, glaze, and positive interaction. I think this could teeter into the elite tier, but personally I'm gonna put him into the chill tier. Next we have a similar situation to Lil Wayne and the older heads with 2 Chainz, but I think 2 Chainz has a pretty chill fan base, so I'm gonna put him. Similar to all the other old heads, a lot of his fan base has grown up a little bit, has grown out of being in the scene. I mean, he just had Life is Beautiful and they promoted that well, good press. They talked about 2 Chainz enough to get this album some good listens and all that. So they support 2 Chainz enough. They're not overly annoying, they're not trying to do too much. And so because of that, they're gonna have to go in the chill tier. Next, we have another underground rapper here with young bands, similar to Josiah, Can, Smooth Beats, that other guy. Not huge into their music, so I haven't interacted with the fan base that much. So I'm gonna put them in the they have fans tier. Next, we have Young Thug, and this is a bit of an interesting one. I think I would have put them in the chill tier if it wasn't for this case that he's been dealing with. And because of that, they're teetering on average to annoying. I think I'm gonna put them at the bottom of average, but I could completely understand if you have them in chill or if you have them on annoying. I think Young Thug's fan base did a good job supporting him through the trial, keeping him relevant, trying to keep his music and everything alive. But they do get annoying when they're talking about other rappers like Gunna, like they're talking about Kid Cudi and all the people who are rats. They kind of assume the personality of YSL and that they have personal beef with these rappers. And I do think it gets annoying at times. I do think they glaze just a little bit too much, but nothing crazy. And I think they respond to criticism decently well. That's why I can understand if you have them in the average or even the chill range. But just the way that the fans interact with other people's rappers and how they kind of insert themselves into the situation puts them into the bottom of average for me, leaning annoying. Next, we have a similar situation to Summrs here with Autumn. I'm gonna have to put Autumn fans in annoying. I'm gonna put them in the bottom of annoying, but they're still gonna go in annoying. Now, just like what happened with Summrs, I've reviewed a couple of his albums and I gave them anywhere between like a 5 to a 7. And Autumn fans did not think that was enough and still reacted negatively to that. And that's just a crazy thing to do because I gave it an average to a good tier and you're still not happy with that. It's annoying when a fan base can't even accept when someone responds even positively to their music, but it's not positive enough for them. So Autumn fans are gonna find themselves in the annoying tier. Next, we have Soulja Boy. Does Soulja Boy have fans anymore? This isn't back in the Crank That days. People know him for more what he did streaming now than he does for music. Soulja Boy easily goes in the they have fans tier because I don't know if he does. Next we have BabyTron, and this is another personal experience thing. I think I'm gonna put them in annoying, but leaning more to average, the chill side. Now, just like Summrs, just like Autumn, I've reviewed plenty of BabyTron albums, and I think he has one flow, and that one flow is fine, but it gets repetitive. And it makes his music a little more boring. So I haven't responded too positively to his music. And BabyTron fans can accept that some people might not like his music, even though, like I said, he has virtually one flow. And they don't respond positively to that. They glaze his lyricism. It's just not an amazing fan base. And that's why, unfortunately, he's gonna land himself in the annoying tier. This is the end of part 1 of this video. This was meant to be in one part, but when I got it edited and filmed, it ended up being an hour, so I decided to split it up in 2. But if you enjoyed this and are excited for part 2, make sure to like and subscribe and make sure you have that notification bell on so you can be there right when this next one get uploaded. I would give you the world, baby girl. You just gotta be worth it.